Welcome to Six of One and Bill of the Other, where in today's episode we're going to talk about the recent movie, The Substance. Bill, what did you think of The Substance?
I have complicated feelings about The Substance.
Oh, I quite like complicated feelings.
Here's the first point I'll have to go through is I'm not a big gore guy. So body horror, I can watch it and I would say I like it when it matches the story. So if I'm seeing Saving Private Ryan and someone gets their arm blown off, I like it because it's realistic and it makes me feel like I'm really there. I can't watch the Saw movies. And The Substance actually it was the first movie I've watched willingly in a long time that I watched, I think I could go back and be fine, but the fact that I didn't know what was going to happen next, it brought me back when I was a kid. The first time I saw RoboCop, it was on TV. And if you've ever seen the original RoboCop, there's the scene where the cop who becomes a RoboCop gets his arms and legs blown off, and the effects are laughable if you look at it now. But as a kid, I'm 8 or 10 years old. I remember just not being able to watch it and freaking me out. And so I went into this movie knowing that it was going to be very gory to the point that people were going, "You're not going to believe what's going to happen." And I thought, well, I'm a middle-aged man now. It shouldn't be that bad. And from the first scene, the way the cinematography is, I could tell it's going to be bad because I couldn't watch Dennis Quaid eat shrimp.
Yeah. I mean, that was body horror. That was body horror.
Yeah. So
the sound effects and they had
the sound
horror.
effects. He's eating and they do this close up on his teeth and they yellowed his teeth and he's just munching on his shrimp. And then I had a Seinfeld moment because then he sees somebody, he goes, "Hey!" And he doesn't wipe his hands off and he's patting their shirt with his disgusting shrimp fingers. And so it was hard for me to get through, and I went from being like, "Oh no, what's going to happen next?" to laughing wildly by the time it got to the end. Once it got to the point where it was beyond ridiculous, I could just laugh and it was fine. But it was hard for me to get through. I think it's a brilliant idea. I thought it was executed very well. When I found out the director was a woman, and I'm probably gonna murder the pronunciation, it's I think it's Coralie Fargay. Is that correct? If not, your dad's still amongst us. He's going to let me know if I messed that up. But I could tell it was directed by a woman.
Just say it with confidence. Coralie Fargay. Just say it with confidence.
There's no way a guy, it's both Demi Moore and the actress who played Sue,
Margaret
Qualley, who I think is Dennis Quaid's daughter, which is awkward. They were so naked in this movie.
She's not Dennis Quaid's daughter.
No. Well, okay.
She's nothing to do with Dennis Quaid.
You sure?
Yeah. She is, however, 4 Weddings and a Funeral Girl. Ali, Roddy, Andy McDowell. No, not Andy McDowell. Roddy McDowell. She's Roddy McDowell's daughter. No, Andy McDowell's daughter.
Well,
she's one of his Nepo babies.
I'll just say the nudity is uncomfortable because it's just so... It's kind of like going to the dentist, right? And they go, "We need a little more light." No, it's fluorescent lighting times 10. And they're just showing every, so you're uncomfortable before any gore happens. Because, and it's also, I think it gave me the same feeling as a face talker, a close talker. You ever talk to somebody and they're just right up on you and it's just too much?
Yeah, I like
this movie is that. I could imagine you would like to do that.
I like to do that to people.
Oh, I hate it. I hate
5
it so
millimeters.
I sit 10 feet away from my wife when we have sex. That's all. No,
but when we have sex, 5 millimeters.
And it makes me very uncomfortable. So it's imagine yourself naked at the dentist and they increase the fluorescent lighting. And then they cut open your spinal cord and someone crawls out, and that's what this movie is.
This is American dentistry then. So in just to put it into context, in the UK, we don't have to get naked because of a dentist, right?
Well, they don't do it until after they give you the gas.
No. Hey, interestingly, right, something you said there, right, which was the fact that it sounds like you were forewarned, right? I went
Yeah.
into it, so I think that would have changed things for me. If someone had said to me, "What's the substance?" You won't believe. Well, you know when someone does that, they think they're not spoiling it, but they go, "Put spoilers, everybody." When they say, "You won't," Bill, you won't believe the twist at the end, or you won't believe how mad it gets at the end, right? I didn't have any of that. It was literally, here's a film called The Substance, and I'll watch it, and I didn't really know, and it sort of chugged along, and so for me, the ending came from nowhere, and it was funny, and I was laughing.
They did that to me with Deer Hunter. They said, "You'll laugh your ass off."
But something else you said there is interesting because when it comes to this body horror, and I'd say this is like body horror Cronenberg style, and Cronenberg, like Lynchian Cronenberg and John Carpenter, rather than the body, the torture porn, the Hostel and Saw and stuff. I would say that's a different kind of game.
Well, I would say that this is reveling in it to make a point. The Saw stuff is reveling in it almost for pornography's sake, which I think makes this movie stand above it. And I'll say the only, and it's a critique, but it's not, I don't think the movie wasn't trying to be. These aren't three-dimensional characters in this movie. It's satire just played to the nth degree, and I think it does a great job at that. But I think if there is, the two criticisms I'd have are that they're so two-dimensional, and secondly, and not to get too in the weeds, but the idea is you inject yourself with this substance. The ideal you comes out of your spinal cord, lives for a week, you get a week, and they never quite explain. They explain that it's you. So does Demi Moore have Sue's memories?
Yeah,
and they lead you to believe
consciousness.
Well, yeah, they lead you to believe she does, or what's the point? And I don't want to go on like that's not realistic. It's just like I didn't quite because I couldn't understand the mechanics of how that happened. It sort of was a stumbling block.
Having spoken to a few people since watching it, I think a few people didn't get, and it probably is the film's fault in that respect. They didn't get that it was a shared consciousness, and the way they were talking to me about it, they were kept talking about them as two different people, and this one had it in for this one, and by the end they're kind of battling each other. And I kept having to explain, no, that it's the same. It's a shared consciousness. You swap it out, so the person that's when they're in this body is aghast at what that body's done.
Yeah.
When they swap to that body, it's the same person with the same memories. It's exactly the same consciousness, who is then disgusted with what they've done. So I think it's quite clever, but I think it failed in some respects because I don't think people got it. I think they saw it as a splitting physically and mentally of two beings.
Well, and I will say, as satire, I think it works brilliantly. So I'm criticizing it, but I don't want.
I want to go into. I
think they did exactly what they set out to do and did it really well. Yeah.
So one of the things you said earlier, which was about the lights being on, like the thing when it comes to these kind of dark, kind of Cronenberg, like The Fly and all these kind of things, where usually they're set in dark, dingy, and you just get flashes of like body horror. This one was quite interesting, and just having all the lights turned up. And everything is directly in your face, kind of medicals, like a hospital. I liked that. I really liked that.
I did not care for it.
So I watched it, and at the end, I did applaud, and I did say only in my room by myself, and it wasn't one hand clapping. I did use two, and I did think that was truly great, and I felt physically sick. Do you know what I felt? I thought I was going to throw up. I don't think I've ever said that about a film before, but at the very end, I had to sit there for a while, just kind of getting over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I think it's interesting that the greatest thing you loved it so much and it made you nauseous.
But I like that.
That's an interesting study in you. Well, yeah. Revulsion.
What my notes show is a flaw in the film, and I think a lot of us were watching the film and just seizing upon the references, which were so blatant. And then you end up watching the film with somebody and going, Shining, that's The Shining, that's The Fly. Towards the end, that's Carpenter's The Thing. That scene there, that's Carrie, the blood squirting. There was another little riff. We watched Possession not that long ago.
Yeah.
And every film since has had a scene in it that reminds me of that subway scene in
Well, and
Possession.
they're gonna try to remake it too, I think, the Possession.
Yeah. Oh, no. Did you ever play the video game Inside?
No.
Right.
But I do
Anyone-
play video games inside. Like I don't hook my TV up
No, you-
outside
you,
when I
just,
play
you
them.
just don't sit in a field in the rain.
Yeah. I guess you have the Switch. You could go out, but yeah.
The youth of today should just play video games in the rain. Anyone who's played Inside, towards the end of that, the body horror at the end of that reminded me very much of. I liked it when it comes up on the screen. It was like Sue and whatever
yeah.
Demi Moore's name is, and at the end it's Monstro Eliza Sue, Monstro Elisa Sue, which is like that kind of creepy.
Both
creature
of
at
them
the end.
together. Which I think
That-
the funniest thing in the whole movie is when that creature stapled the picture of Sue onto
was-
the front of its head.
That's what I'm
That made
right
me
now.
laugh. Yeah.
Oh, do you know what? So, if you described it to someone and said it's a kind of body horror,
Yeah.
like an old 70s, 80s style, almost like elements of it were like a remake of The Fly or something, yeah? What that doesn't get across is how genuinely funny that whole
Yeah. Oh,
last
yeah.
half hour is. You're right. The stapled picture of the face.
She's
as it
curling the
lumbers
one
through the
hair.
thing. Oh, but
Well,
it is, isn't it? So, if you look at it as being a riff on sexism and ageism, kind of in Hollywood, and the choice and celebrity in general, and the choice
think
of
about
getting
it.
Demi Moore to play that part,
well, think about
it
this too.
is saying something.
And I think, so it's our whole civilization right now is catered to 18 to 35. And I remember now that I'm in the throes of middle age, you leave that demographic and you're like, why does everything suck? And you realize they're not making it for you anymore. And so you're leaving that and you're saying it's almost like life has stopped according to pop culture for you, and people are holding on to it. And the point I'm trying to make is what's interesting is, I'm in the thrust of middle age. Let's say I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make a go for it. I get some bee sting lips and I get injected the wrinkles in my forehead. And yeah. And if I get it done really well, right? I'll probably look weird. Like, you'll probably look at me and I think I heard a joke with a plastic surgeon that she said, "How young will I look?" And he goes, "You're same age, but like you had plastic surgery." And so you'll look like that, but it's sort of like, okay, it's not like terrible. But then what do I look like in 10 years? What do I look like in 20? So all this plastic surgery that you've had to cover up is sort of leaving. You're a wrinkly old man, but you've got like a perfect forehead. Like like your collagen implants are like, getting, and I think that body horror was sort of a play not only on just work getting old, but then people going, oh, I got to go back and get more. And then you turn into like Madonna or someone who's had so much work that they don't even quite look human anymore. And I totally understand it. And I remember, you're old enough, Michael Jackson in the heyday, there used to be real rumors that he'd be like performing and his nose would fall off. And they'd have to like put his nose back on. And I don't know how apocryphal that shit was, but, we believed it. You looked at him, you're like, well, yeah.
I don't think his nose ever fell off.
But
I
I'm
think
just
we will
saying
be led up the garden path on that one.
a little bit. But the point I'm making is, you can see why the disease sets hold because you want to be in this group, and you want to be in that group, and you want to be, especially if your whole life, like in this movie, is built up on how attractive you are, or your looks, and then you lose it, and it's like you're desperately holding on. And that holding on, it literally is turning people into monsters. Like, you can look at these celebrities that were, Madonna's example, and I think Meg Ryan is another one, and they've had Kenny Rogers, because you say, do guys do that too? And you see like Joe Rogan and all these guys and HGH, and they're putting all this stuff in their body, and you don't look at them like you don't look at Joe Rogan and go, oh man, that guy looks 22. He just looks like a dude.
There's that
that
guy. There's that guy doing the rounds at the moment, isn't it? A guy who's trying to live forever. And
the older guy. Yeah, the rich guy.
and everyone's saying like, he's literally on podcasts, and people are going, "Oh my god, it's amazing! You look," and I'm always thinking he looks his age. Like,
Yeah, he does.
he's in his late 40s or something. They're going, "Oh, you look fantastic. You look
was
25." And I'm
taking,
thinking, he's the same age as me. And
He was taking his son's blood, and then he was taking
That's right.
plasma and stuff.
I tell you what, do you reckon there's a swathe of sort of celebrity Hollywood society then that watched that film and watched it in a very different way to you and I? Because the difference between you and I watching that and Madonna herself watching that end section,
Well, and I think
she
even
must
if I
have
had,
freaked out.
dude, if I had a bunch of work done, so to speak, and I'm watching that, it's and yeah, Madonna must have. I don't know if she could watch it almost.
But because her eyes are kind of that.
I didn't even. I served that up to you, and I didn't even realize how much I served that up to you. Well, no, it's a horror story, and it's like it's easy for us to laugh, and I think just because someone has more money and fame than you doesn't mean you can't have empathy towards them, because it's like you're given this is what you're here on Earth for, and then nobody cares suddenly, and I think it's very human to understand why they're grasping to kind of stay in that spotlight, because we'd like to see him age. Like I think of like Bill Murray. Bill Murray's just Bill Murray. He's got pockmarks and he's old, and we love him because he's just who he is. And but I think it's a fair statement to say it's easier to be a dude and do that than to be, what's considered an attractive woman. Yeah.
I do have a comment about that. I was going to say, right, when it comes to, I think, because like we said, we were laughing at it, right? But I think it's actually got quite a serious point. It's almost like a kind of another, yes, it's skewed to Hollywood and it's skewed to sexism and ageism and stuff, but it's kind of got a midlife crisis ring about it. The fact that
kind of that's what the movie's about.
But look at it like this, right? So in the film, Demi Moore hits 50 and all this happens and all of her kind of crisis, right? In real life, she's over 60.
Yeah.
So it's also got its own little thing. And I spent the entire film thinking, well, the entire first section of the film thinking, my God, Demi Moore looks good.
Well, and I think we have to keep in mind though
just
too.
Left herself alone.
Well, we have to keep in mind that if you are Demi Moore, you have a personal trainer, you have a nutritionist, you have, if you're working a day to day. I really felt I identify with her when she was just eating all the food and watching television, because that's what I do. I'm not that messy, but yeah.
Yeah, there were moments where the Elizabeth character, when it was her taking on the consciousness and sitting there eating the TV dinners, that was directly affecting my soul. And I was thinking, oh my God, this is the bit.
Well,
the
most unrealistic point of the whole movie was when she considered dating the guy she went to school with.
Yeah.
I think even at her worst, she'd be like, oh no.
That was played out quite well though as well.
Yeah,
it was like a moment of her trying to adjust to the fact that perhaps she should be thinking about having like more of a normal life, but she still couldn't do it.
Well, and I think that's hard just for all of us. We hit these transition points whether we want to or not. And is it healthy for me in my 40s to want like a 20-year-old woman to find me attractive? And I'd say no, it's probably not healthy to be thinking that way in my 40s. Like, hey, I hope this, and I'm married, so obviously not, but even if I'm not, I think it's a little unhealthy in your 40s to be going, I need to look attractive enough to get a 20-year-old.
Okay.
You should just progress. I think we're built to progress. I don't know.
Right.
Naturally.
No, I like that opinion, and I think you're probably right. But if you go into the world of the media, the world of Hollywood, the world of any kind of TV movies, every single person, male and female, has the opposite viewpoint. Their whole career and their life is dependent upon a 25-year-old still probably finding Brad Pitt attractive, or a 30-year-old looking at Demi Moore and going, she's all right.
Well, do you think, I mean, what effect does that have on us as a society? Because that's subconsciously telling all of us that, like, this is what you should be. Because, like, let's face it, how many people do you know can name a scientist? Besides like Bill Gates, or not Bill Gates, besides Stephen Hawking or like Neil deGrasse Tyson or somebody that's on TV.
If everyone I know can't tell me Einstein, then my whole life is
well. how about a living one? Like, like I'm just saying, who's the lead guy right now or lead woman in cancer research? And we don't know that.
John Smith. That's
John Smith.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, John Smith. I guarantee I'm right. Everyone out there, Google the scientist John Smith. You'll find I'm right.
But yeah, sure. The funny thing is, it's such a common name that it probably is a dude named John Smith. That's
what I'm relying on.
Very smart. Very smart. I went over my head. But
hey, how about?
But
this?
yeah, I just think. Oh, sorry. My point isn't.
Well, no, I was just gonna say one more thing, right? On the subject of the body horror type thing, right? The best, right? So Margaret Qualley, right, who is Andy McDowell's daughter, so a bit of a nepo baby. You're thinking about Jack Quaid. You're thinking about the guy out of Heroes.
Oh, okay.
But she stunning looking girl. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that at my age, but she's actually older than she's 30. She's in her 30s.
Yeah. You're allowed to say she's pretty, yeah.
She's a very, very attractive girl, right? But the greatest bit of body prosthetics in the film was she's if you Google search her, she's quite a flat-chested girl. And in her comments about the filming...
How are you Googling her?
Right?
How did you find this information out?
You bastard! You bastard!
I just went over...
Right. No, all I did was type in Margaret Qualley naked, right? Right. It turns out that for the entire film, she's wearing a full set of body prosthetics, fake breasts.
Well,
right?
and for the record,
that's interesting in its own way.
For the record, I think it's natural at any age to be attracted to an attractive girl. I'm saying to think like that's a real possibility. Is what I think.
No. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But so my point here is, even though I thought, wow, what a stunning looking girl, in this film, bearing in mind the film's subject matter, that actress still needed to wear a complete set of body prosthetics to have the correct looking breasts to play that part.
So even in this movie,
in its own way, that is also a comment on what the film's commenting on.
The female director making a film about how looks are too important when her tits aren't big enough.
Now a negative. Margaret Qualley, right? She's another one. Her ex is Pete Davidson, and then she was going out with Shia LaBeouf, and now she's married to Jack Antonoff. And
I don't know who that is.
Right, Jack Antonoff. Hang on. Right. So. I do reaction videos.
You could say that I don't know Jack.
I listened. Right. So I did a reaction to this album, right, which is did you know that there's a tunnel under Ocean Boulevard by Lana Del Rey, right?
I did not know that.
Now it's produced by. This is where you'll guess who it's produced by. It's mainly produced by Jack Antonoff, right?
Okay.
And there's a song on this album called
My
Margaret.
wife doesn't have big enough tits.
Right, right. This is the thing, right? There's a song. The first track on side D of this album, which everyone loves, this album here, right? It's called Margaret, and the song is about Margaret Qualley, right? So there was me thinking, oh, who's this kind of unknown actress that I've never seen before? She's been out with every celebrity guy, and she has a song on this album about her. And what I wanted to do was read the lyrics and see whether it does reference her wearing. Having to probably need to wear fake tits because she's too flat-chested, but well, I think I've.
I thought you were going to actually. I thought you actually were going to say there was a lyric about that.
Hang on, no, hang on, right, hang on. I'm trying to see whether there are. She hasn't written the damn lyrics down. One of my bugbears, right? One of my bugbears is someone producing an album with a gatefold sleeve, right? With a gatefold sleeve, but you don't put the lyrics on it. You just fill it up with a shit picture of the sea.
Water and rainbows.
Water and rainbows. So I couldn't tell you what without listening to it again, I couldn't tell you whether it's about I have this friend. She's called Margaret. She's a flat-chested.
Speaking of water, you're being salty.
No, right. So, right. My final point, okay, for the moment, right. I was thinking, this is skewed towards women in the industry, kind of women in media, right? And the fact that, and I agree with this. This is true. They have got it. You mentioned it before. They kind of got it more difficult in a way because it seems like society wants to kind of reject a woman whose career was founded on looks at a certain point. Where you were saying perhaps that doesn't affect a man so much. They can kind of get old and craggy. But I thought this would work. You know, if you could rewind time a little bit, this would work with Marlon Brando. You can imagine a big fat guy in a chair eating, just looking back at old videos of like On the Waterfront or even The Godfather or whatever, and just thinking, oh, look what I could have been a contender.
No, I think it was the opposite. He showed up really fat, and they were like, "We'll just shoot his head for Apocalypse Now." They literally just turned the lights out and shot his head. That's instead of it mattering.
But imagine it though. But imagine it skewed that way. So Marlon Brando takes a substance and a fighting fit 1950s On the Waterfront Brando, and he has a shared consciousness. I'm telling you something. One of those consciousnesses is not going to stop eating.
I think both of them. I think he'd go back and be like, "Oh,
you just go, yeah." Well,
this is delicious. This tastes delicious. It's very good, and I can eat it more now that I'm skinny. It's very delicious.
That's good. Oh, that's good. That was good.
I could kiss this tasty cake. I think.
Hey, what did you think about in the film world? So Demi Moore made her living by being like a Jane Fonda type fitness guru, and then when she produces like a younger, more beautiful version of herself, that person kind of applies for the same job. And so we're in a world where it seems like the most popular program on TV is still just like a fitness thing. Like in this, we had like Mr. Motivator. We had this in my youth. We had like this black bloke who used to wear a leotard.
We had Richard Simmons sweating to the oldies.
Well, what happens today? Did you think that dated the? I thought that it was a very strange choice to have today.
Well, let me ask you this though. No, because they're doing aerobics, and it's like, but is that really that much different than what people are watching now? Like,
I don't know. Is there still aerobics on the TV?
No, but they're watching like TikTok videos. I mean, I don't see that much of a difference.
But do you know what though? Having just said everything I've just said, if that show with Margaret Qualley with the prosthetic tits was actually on TV every day, I think we found our viewer that's definitely watching it. It's probably.
I just went over how we. I just went over how we shouldn't be the viewer that's watching.
Damn.
And you're like, I would watch it every day.
I'm booking my seat in my own front room right now.
I like granny porn.
I'm just trying to think if they did a male version of it and I starred in it, whether I'd have to walk around with a massive prosthetic penis.
Yours wouldn't be, sorry.
You won't believe this, guys, but we just looked at the Substance 2, where the Mercury number 6 stars in it, yeah? And I just want to let you know now that he actually wears a prosthetic penis for the entire film.
The opposite happened to, who he played... Green Goblin.
Green
and he
Goblin
played,
guy. Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe, he played in The Lighthouse. Yeah, his was so big that they thought it didn't look human, so they made him wear a smaller one.
Have you watched the clip? Obviously, I've typed in.
No, I haven't watched.
Huge penis.
I didn't want to watch the
spectacular.
I didn't want to actually watch the clip. No, I haven't.
Yeah. I watched the clip. Yeah. If you look in my search history, it's Margaret Qualley naked and Willem Dafoe huge penis.
What are you doing all day on the internet? I feel like, good God,
good Goblin.
When I'm not even gonna say that joke. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So that was the Substance. So I didn't know what to. We didn't really expect. So the Substance, yeah, it was a film about beauty being everything for. I suppose it was referencing a certain type of old school Hollywood star, and Demi Moore represented it quite well. and what happens as they age.
I think for me the theme was don't cling on too hard to your youth, or a tit might fall out of your eye socket.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there you go. So on that. So yeah, it was definitely the greatest film of all time. Definitely, without doubt.
It was, and our viewers, I don't know when the next episode will be, but it will be Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis.
I am looking forward to Megalopolis. I like the idea of someone kind of putting their own money into something, their artistic vision, and
I heard they made Francis Ford Coppola wear augmented breasts while filming because his weren't big enough.
That's the thing. I wasn't sure. I thought it was actually a prosthetic arse. I thought his arse didn't quite fill his trousers.
There's a joke there that I can't catch quite. The prosthetic ass.
You gotta slap that 70-year-old male prosthetic ass.
Oh, he got in trouble because he was like,
oh God,
girls
he was.
On
He
set.
was slapping ass.
He was.
Shit.
He actually was doing
Oh
it.
shit! He was slapping ass.
It was not good. It was not good.
slapping
Remember that
ass.
thing I talked about? How you shouldn't be going after 20-year-olds. He's like 87, and he was like French kissing girls to get them ready for the scene. So,
Allegedly.
yeah. Allegedly.
Well, until next time. So we're gonna do Megalopolis next, yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. And as I act jovially and drink my little beers watching these films, I'm warning you now, there is a painting of me locked in the next room that is looking hideous right now. Until next time.
I got that reference.
Until next time.
Over and...
Ah!